Hello, everybody. My name's Chloe, and this is Chat GPA, a podcast dedicated to talking about realistic mental health care for college students. Whether you're an undergraduate or a graduate student, we're all busy, sometimes really busy, with insane schedules, and sometimes it can seem a bit overwhelming about how to take care of our mental health while we're in college, while we're dealing with our busy schedules. And in the last few episodes, we've talked about how important sleeping is to our GPAs and our mental health, and eating as well. Today's episode was actually meant to be part 3 of my little series about nutrition and eating while in college, which has kind of accidentally turned into a mini series because I just have way too much to talk about it. But anyway, part 3 is still coming out, I promise. But it does turn out it needs to be next week because college life happened. I'm a real life college student too. I'm a senior at Texas A&M and things happened this week. I got pretty sick last week. I really wasn't feeling well. And I actually had to go to the ER one night. So, if you guys came for tea, here's a little sprinkle of that, but anyway. So, pretty much I'm here today with, usually I've got, bullet points and cool data and things to bring for you guys, but it was pretty crazy week last week, so I don't really have any of that right now. So, this is kind of an off-the-cuff little bite-sized episode, because it still matters a lot, and I love talking to you guys just to talk about things, even if it's not my kind of regular schedule. So anyway, part 3, where I talk about how to eat healthy and nutritiously with off-campus ways with meal prepping, grocery store runs, things like that. A lot of stuff about that, I promise, is still coming. It'll just be next week. Just a little interlude. And I think maybe this week I'd like to talk to you guys about, I guess, just being sick and what happens whenever you're sick in college. Because that's definitely on my mind, because I've dealt with, days of not really feeling well and not being able to do my best. And especially with one of my classes, I had a 4-page essay, which, that was due this weekend. And I had to, send in my doctor's note and get that deadline extended for me. And it's kind of a stressful time whenever you're sick in college and just not feeling well. Oh man, I'll probably edit out the little pause, but I did just have to pause there for a second to sneeze. It's been a time, guys. Those seasonal allergies are killing me. So I did kind of forget what I was saying for a little bit. So, anyway, with all of our deadlines and everything that goes on in college, it's kind of stressful whenever you're down and out for a little while. Because college does not stop whenever you do. I think that's actually something I had to learn the hard way through college. I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. I'm realizing now that I'm doing this podcast. But, that's what I'm here for, to try and help so you guys don't have to learn it the hard way. But learning that life really does not stop whenever you don't feel well is something I really had to learn. Especially my first few years in college. My first, 2-3 years here, so for a very long time, I would get sick every other week with a bad flu, cold, something, but something that would seriously take me out for a couple days. And turns out that was because of my food allergies, because I was eating something I was allergic to with every meal. So it turns out my body did not like that, and so I got sick really often. So I'm not getting sick nearly as often as I used to, but I did have to face the reality of getting sick in college quite a bit, which was especially rough as a freshman, because whenever you're a freshman at Texas A&M, or anywhere really, whenever you're a freshman in college, it's an entirely new experience. It's really exciting, and you're away from home, which can be a good and a bad thing. You're getting experience taking care of yourself and being independent, but you're also getting experience taking care of yourself and being independent, which is not fun whenever you're sick. Because whenever I'd get sick at home, my sweetest mom, she would take care of me and give me chicken noodle soup and give me kisses. But in college, there's no one to give me chicken noodle soup. I need to make it myself. And I need to find a way to eat myself. I still need to figure out a way to drink water. And I would actually get really homesick, because that's not something I really expected to experience in college, is what it feels like to be lonely whenever I'm used to having someone else to help me. And I do still struggle with that. It does get better, I promise. But it really is rough being just like, whenever you get your first bad sickness on your own away from home, it's an experience for sure. And I actually do have some advice that kind of I learned that really helps with just whenever you do get sick in college, because oh my goodness, bugs and colds, they go everywhere in college, and sometimes you're in a lecture hall and the person behind you is just sneezing like crazy, and I hate that feeling. But sometimes it's like almost I can feel the germs getting sneezed on me, and then 2 days later I'm sick. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. But I guess I do have some advice for making being sick by yourself in college an easier experience. And I think one of the most necessary things that I'd recommend for not only just for times whenever you're getting sick or feeling sick, but all the time, is making sure you have a store of snacks or a few meals at least. Because whenever you're sick, you do not feel like getting up and going to the dining hall, and also getting everyone else sick at the dining hall. Getting up, getting dressed, doing everything you need to, walking to the dining hall, whether it's a few minutes away or 10 minutes away. It's just not something you feel like doing, especially with something bad like a stomach bug. And so whenever I couldn't leave my apartment, I learned how valuable it is to have meals nearby, where I don't have to get dressed and go to the dining hall and then try to eat something and then crawl back into bed, but where I could just open up my little pantry or look in a shelf and grab a microwavable meal from the freezer. It's just making sure you have food so you don't go hungry when you're sick. Because, I was just talking about how important nutrition is for your body, but it's like doubly so whenever you're sick, because your body needs extra support when you're sick. Like, you need to give it all the love you can and make sure you eat, and eat enough, as much as you can, so your body can heal and recover. It needs energy to do that. And I think my second biggest piece of advice is to have a pretty good medicine stash before you get sick, so you don't have to wait on a grocery store delivery order or something like that to be able to have your medicine to help you feel better. And this kind of applies for all sorts of different things, like making sure you have Tylenol or ibuprofen for headaches or soreness or just like pain in general, or whatever medicine that works best for you. Those work best for me. But also having like NyQuil and DayQuil for whenever you do have to go to class, even whenever you're sick and not feeling well, because that happens. I think it's just pretty much making sure you have the supplies to take care of yourself whenever you do get sick, because no matter how good your immune system is, it's inevitable in college. Sickness just tends to flare up sometimes, and it seems like everybody's sick all at once. But making sure you have the supplies, food and medicine, to be able to take care of yourself makes everything a whole lot easier. All of that helped me a lot whenever I'd get sick a whole lot. With my immune system being really angry at me because of my food allergies I didn't know I had, I would get sick every other week, and to the point where a lot of my professors actually thought I was lying and just faking doctor's notes or something, because I would always get a doctor's note for them to be like, please, I'm not lying, my immune system hates me. But sometimes whenever you're sick, you really do have to miss class, and you just can't go. And I think part of that is taking care of yourself, but sometimes you really do have to miss class whenever you're too sick to go. And you should not go to class if you're too sick to go. I mean, I've done it. I've gone to the class with like a little case of the sniffles, some Dayquil to try and help whenever I could not miss a physics class or a calculus class. Those were the two hardest classes for me, because then I'd be behind for a few weeks just by missing one day, and I just couldn't do it. But sometimes it happens, and whenever that happens where you do have to miss class, my advice is always email your professors that you're going to miss, just to give them a heads up. Whether it's just a lecture class or even a lab that you're having to miss because you're sick. Especially the lab, though, because at least at Texas A&M, biology labs are pretty vicious whenever it comes to unexcused absences. But anyway, make sure to email your professors as soon as you know that you're not going to be able to make it to class. That's good for a few reasons. One, so that your professors don't think you're just skipping, because that does matter with how a professor treats you. But it's happened to me where I missed because I'm sick and I didn't email my professor, and they think I skipped or something, but whenever I was actually like unable to make it to class. And just your professors having noticed that you're sick ahead of time before you do have to miss an assignment if the sickness goes on longer than you thought, then it kind of gives credibility and proof that you're not just making it up. And number 2 for this is making sure you have a doctor's note whenever you do get sick. If you're just missing a regular lecture with no homework or assignments due, or you're not having to miss any homework assignments or exams, then maybe that's not a 100% thing you do really have to do and pay for, because that is money. But especially if you're new to college and you haven't really experienced this yet, your professors, especially if you're missing an important assignment like an exam, absolutely require a doctor's note that you really are sick. So they need that proof to be able to extend your due date for whatever assignment that is. And the important thing I didn't realize for a little bit or I accidentally caused a little bit of a problem with that, is make sure you get your doctor's note on the day of or before the assignment is due. Because, let's say you have an essay due on Wednesday and you did get really sick on Wednesday and you can't turn it in. You need to see the doctor telehealth or in person. Like Texas A&M has Butyl for in-person visits, but whether it's telehealth or an in-person visit, it does have to be that day. Because if you're sick on Wednesday and you also have an essay due on Wednesday that you just can't do because of how sick you are, if you go to a teledoc appointment on Thursday, that doctor cannot verify and cannot say in a note that you really were sick on Wednesday. I actually learned that a little bit of the hard way, where I had difficulty getting an appointment the day I was sick. And I was sick for a few days, so I was still sick whenever I got my appointment. But it was a day late, and I don't think that assignment was able to be excused because my doctor's note was a day late. It did not have the correct date on it. So that is an important thing to keep in mind, that just a quick teledoc appointment matters a lot whenever it comes to due dates. And so I've been personally facing all these things this week too. I've been really grateful that I do have plenty of food that I already had in my apartment, so I didn't have to go out to the grocery store or get an expensive grocery delivery and wait on that too and go hungry. I'm thankful I had enough food to eat in my apartment. But I'm also definitely dealing with the anxiety that comes with missing an important deadline and waiting on a professor's response to make sure that everything is going okay. I had a very big 4-page essay due this weekend on Saturday that I was in absolutely no shape to do. I just wasn't. There was no way I could do that and write something that, like, coherent. Not to mention good. It's supposed to be a good essay. I mean, I just wasn't in the shape to do it. And so I did email my professor, and I have all the proof that I could ever need. And I'm also grateful to have disability accommodations with the Texas A&M Disability Services Office. And because of my health issues and things like that, I do get the occasional missed deadline. And so I know I've got proof. I have a disability accommodation to help me in times like this. But it's still incredibly anxiety-inducing waiting on a professor to get back to me about, okay, here's your new deadline. Because in my head, it's always scary of, what if my professor just says no, even though I have all the proof in the world? And a disability accommodation. But what if my professor just says no, you get a 0 because you missed your deadline for a really big assignment? And I know that's not logical, but I feel like a lot of you can relate to that, where a lot of anxiety and fear isn't really rational, but it definitely exists. Like my current fear of my professor just saying, nope, you get a 0, and then me having to deal with that with my grades. And the stress of missing class and making up time. I mean, missing class is not fun, especially when you're sick. It's not like you're having fun instead of going to class. You're just sitting in bed trying not to throw up sometimes. But missing class is kind of painful because it gets you behind in whatever class that is, especially if you can't go anywhere for multiple days. That's multiple classes you're dealing with having to catch up in. With some easier fluff classes, the catch up might be quicker. But in really hard classes like physics, it was really very hard for me to be able to catch up in time, to be able to understand what's going on in the next class period. I just might not sometimes. That's part of why emailing your professor whenever you are sick, even if you're not missing an assignment or something, is important. Because if you are behind and struggling to catch up, you can email your professor or talk to them in person saying, hey, I sent you an email last Wednesday about feeling sick and I wasn't able to go to class and I'm really struggling to catch up. Can I please come by our office hours, or can we please schedule a time to catch up and help me catch up? And whenever your professors really do have that email from you whenever you were sick, they're always very willing to help you and to help you catch up. Most professors really, really do want you to succeed, like 99% of them. I mean, there's always there's bad eggs somewhere, and you unfortunately might get one. I've had some. But majority of professors really do want to help you and are willing to spend extra time to help you catch up in class. And I know I'm just talking about how it isn't great to miss class, but I do really want to say, do not push yourself to go to class whenever you're too sick to go. Do not do that. That is horrible for you. If you go to class whenever you're really sick, I mean, your body might be there, but your mind absolutely won't be. You'll be spending valuable energy that your body needs to be able to rest and recover. And there's no point in going to class whenever you're sick like that, whenever you're not going to be able to pay attention anyway. You can ask the professor for the slides from that day or a friend from your class to help give you notes that you missed. It is always more important to take care of yourself than to just physically be in class. You can make yourself sick for longer by doing that and spending energy and making yourself even more tired and more sick. Your physical health and your mental health is always more important than getting perfect attendance in your class. And kind of a tangent, I mentioned earlier that I do have disability accommodations with Texas A&M's Disability Resources. And I'd just like to say, do not be afraid to go talk to them if you do have a disability, whether it's physical or mental health-wise. Like, I do have longer-term physical health issues that do cause problems for me sometimes. And I also have PTSD from my abusive father, which is why I originally went to disability services for help with my PTSD and for testing accommodations and just for help in general. And for a long time, I refused to go ask for help with disability accommodations, actually admitting that I'm not fine, that I'm not perfectly fine with all that. I mean, for a while, I just did not go ask for, hey, I think I need accommodations. I think I need some help with this. Because PTSD is a really hard thing to live with sometimes. And for me, I just kept telling myself, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I can do this, I'm fine. Whenever I really wasn't, and whenever I did finally go to disability resources to go get help, they were absolutely wonderful, and they gave me accommodations like being able to do my testing in the Disability Testing Center, which was surprisingly incredible for me. That's one of the things I was pretty much in denial about needing, was testing accommodations, because my anxiety goes nuts whenever a big test comes around. And seriously, my grades jumped a whole letter grade with my new test scores in an environment where I was taken care of. So anyway, I guess the whole reason I'm telling my story with all that is just saying, whether you have physical problems you have to deal with or mental health problems, don't be afraid to go talk to disability resources about it, because maybe there are some accommodations that can really make your life a whole lot better. Because once I actually faced my fears and did ask for help, my life got a whole lot better with these wonderful accommodations that I really needed, but I was in denial about. I do highly recommend disability resources and university health services if you're an Aggie. If you're not a Texas A&M student, I highly recommend whatever services your university has available for you. Whether you have a disability center too, or your own university health services, I highly recommend going to go check them out, because they can help you. They can help you get medicine whenever you do get a bad flu, or if you're just going through a hard time with depression or anxiety. Professionals and mental health professionals and healthcare professionals, all the professionals, they really do help. And I'm speaking as someone who does go, and I personally go get help, and so I've lived it. And so if you are an Aggie and interested in talking to someone at Disability Resources, you can find them at disability.tamu.edu. There's a whole lot of resources there, like figuring out how to book an appointment and things. I do highly recommend it. And if you're interested in booking an appointment with University Health Services, they encompass both physical health and mental health, which is awesome. But you can find them at uhs.tamu.edu. And all of these links and things will be in my description or show notes. Still don't know how that works quite yet. I'm working on it, guys. But if you do go to that website, there is a little tab button that says appointments with a little plus sign next to it. If you click that, or actually if you click the little highlighted word appointments in that, you'll get brought to the little appointments page, where if you scroll down a little bit, you can click a button for the appointment portal. And from there, you can log into your University Health Services Care Portal, and you can book an appointment at Butyl for in-person medical care, with whether you're sick or needing some other sort of care, or you're hurting, or you just need some sort of medical help. They are wonderful people. And you can also book mental health appointments the same way. And you just kind of go through the buttons and choosing when an appointment time works for you, or if you have a specific person in mind you'd like to see. and then you're done. It's all quick and easy. And then you get to get help in person, which is awesome. They really are truly great at what they do. And I understand that it can be really scary and hard to make that first appointment, or even if it's not your first appointment, I understand how intimidating it can be, but it is absolutely worth it. The people there really do care and really do want to help. And you can find the University Health Services Mental Health Center on the 4th floor of the Student Services building, which is really convenient, and that's where I go whenever I have an appointment. It's actually right next to the MSC, so it is really convenient. And if you didn't know, the University Health Services hosts quite a bit of fun activities every week. There's actually a few pretty much every day, so you can find one no matter what your schedule is. Like, there's actually Reveille's Riddle Relay. Oh my gosh, I'm glad I said it right. That's actually tomorrow, February 24th, 2026, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Student Services Building. And a Paint Your Piece event on Wednesday, February 25th, from 11 a.m. to 2, which I know I love to paint, so I really do want to go to that one. I mean, not that I'm good at painting, but I do like to do it. But there's just stuff happening all week, and you can find them at calendar.tamu.edu, all of the different events, and I'll link to that in my little show notes description too, so you guys can browse and see whatever you'd like to go to. And as always, just my little disclaimer that I am just a student. I am a senior here at Texas A&M, a senior honors student, but everything I'm saying is just my experience and what I've lived through in college. If you are experiencing some trouble, and no matter what it is or how small it seems to be, no problem's too small to ask for a little bit of help with. And I forgot to say earlier, since you're a student at Texas A&M, the mental health services and counseling appointments don't cost anything. That is great, especially with our poor little college student budgets. But anyway, no problem is too small to have a little visit and talk it out with, because it really helps. And a lot of the times, a problem that I think is really small turns out to be weighing on me and holding me down a lot more than I ever thought it was. So I do highly recommend going to and trying out visiting a professional that's wherever you are, like University Health Services if you're an Aggie, or if you're at another university, whatever you have at your university, or locally in your town. And I just checked the time, and it does look like I didn't mean to do a full-length episode today, but I guess I did. I just have a lot to talk about, and I love talking to you guys. So, full-length episode, here we go. But next week, I'll get back to my little series about nutrition and eating and doing that and strategies to do that as a college student. But before we get back to our days, let's have a little moment of calm together and take a big, deep breath in. And a long, slow, deep breath out. And you guys got this today. I believe in you. I really very do. Now let's go get on with our days. Bye.